You know, when I was first told that I was going to be inducted into the Washington Sports Hall of Fame, it was a truly great honor. And I said, well, who else is going in with me? Bob Tolman. And I said, wow, what an amazing class. What an amazing array of individuals who have set the scene in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area for so many years. And as I look out into this audience, it is amazing to me that some of the people that I've also talked to this evening were people that I first met when I first came to Washington, D.C. I'll never forget my first time deciding to be a broadcaster in Washington, D.C. There was no radio station at Georgetown. There was no advertising. Zero. And I said to myself, I could do this. And I really had it in my heart to want to become a play-by-play broadcaster in Washington, D.C. At that time, I was still active duty military. And my boss in the Army had two choices for me. He said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to send you to Germany in the career course, and you'll have a wonderful time. And I said, you know what? I said, let me think about this, because it really had my mind set on broadcasting college basketball. If I was sent to Germany, I would be never standing here. I would have never met my wife. I would never have the wonderful experience and joy of broadcasting Georgetown basketball for the successive time that I've had for the 38-year career. So I had a choice to make, and I decided I was going to go for it. So what I did was, I picked up the phone, and I called Georgetown, and I said, talk to Fran Connors, the sports information director. And I said, Fran, I said, you don't know me. I don't have much of a history doing this outside of my couple years in undergraduate school doing play-by-play. But I said, I'd like to give this an opportunity. There's no commercial radio. He said, come on down and we chat. He said, well, what next? I said, well, let me go make some tapes. So I called the Washington Bullets. And the first individual I talked to was Mark Splater. We all remember what a great job Mark did as the sports promotion director, sports publicity director at Maryland, at the Washington Bullets. And working with Mark was Bob Ferry, the then general manager. And they said, come on over. And I made some tapes. And I sat there in press row. And Phil Chenier was one of the players for the Washington Bullets. And there was a great array of stars. And I sat next to this individual. And this individual, as I was doing my tapes, he said, what station do you work for? I said, I don't. He said, you should. He said, do you do this part-time? I said, I don't. He said, you should. And that kind of gave me the impetus to go ahead and do this. So then I went back over to Georgetown and made some more tapes. And finally, Frank Rienzo, who I really applaud being here, Joe Lang, and the wonderful Georgetown family, Brian McGuire, Pat Malley, I can go on and on and on and on. Next Carey. And I was able to then begin the process by making some tapes, and they liked it. So then what happened? Fine, you're the voice of the Hoyas. Wonderful. No radio station, no advertising. That was October of 1974, and the season started the last week of November. So from that point on, my lovely wife, Lynn, we were still not even married. I said, Lynn, we've got to do something. And I'll never forget, it was October the 11th, which was Veterans Day at that time, or it was whatever holiday it was. I sat there in my living room in Adelphi, Maryland, without any advertising, without any radio station. And I went through the yellow pages, and I marked down WOK, all these stations. And finally, I was able to get a radio station. Frank Rienzo and I, along with Fran Connors and Coach Thompson, went over to WOK, over on New Hampshire Avenue. And we sat with Bud Myers. And if any of you remember the olden days of WOK, Bud Myers sat with his feet up, and he said, sure, we'll put you on the air. $10,000, you pay Rich's fees, you pay Rich's everything, his expenses, and you pay the phone lines. And right, Frank, we had to do it. So we did it. And that started Georgetown basketball. But again, no advertising, no commercials, so what do? So I went down with then-wife-to-be, Southeast D.C., and we found the first sponsor, Ducky's Quack Shack. So Ducky's Quack Shack. And I didn't have any credibility, any history. And I came with my tape recorder. And believe it or not, I said, I'm the voice of the Hoyas. The guy looked at me, wonderful. I said, I'm here to represent Georgetown basketball. I said, we have a station, we don't have any advertising, but I said, John Thompson's going to take this team to the NCAAs. And I said, this is the DC team with all the players from Washington, D.C., DC coach, and now a DC station. And believe it or not, this guy bought it. So I wrote Ducky's Quack Shack's commercial, talking about the Christmas spirit coming, and you could buy menswear at so-and-so and so-and-so. That's the first time I'd really been in Southeast D.C. So I was able to luckily get this individual to be our first sponsor. And I'll tell you a great story. He carried us throughout the entire year. At the end of the year, I asked him to advertise for us in the NCAA tournament, because Georgetown made the NCAA first time in 1975 under Coach Thompson. And he said, wonderful, just get that Christmas commercial off the air. So that started things going. And my wife and I, we went and we wrote commercials. We got people in our apartment building. I knew people all I'd grown up with who were in the DC area, and I begged them to sponsor us. And it was interesting, one afternoon, Fran Collins and I were looking over the possibility of getting commercials. And we had Mackie Vending, who was then a big vending machine supporter at Washington, at Georgetown. And I said to Fran, I said, let's try to get them. So initially they said, we'll give you $750. And I said to Fran, I said, you realize how much money they make, Mackie Vending at Georgetown? He picked up the phone, he called me, he said, tell you what, guys, can you pony up for a little more? He said, how much do you make on this campus? The guy, I guess, must have gotten a little nervous, gave us another $250. So we were able to get the ship rolling. But you know, it was very difficult in the Washington, D.C. area to get sponsors, to get advertisers, and to get radio stations. And after the first year of WOK, we were then, they wouldn't do it the second year. Something must have happened contractually, they wouldn't do it. So here we were, starting the second year of my tenure, and there was no radio station. So I remember one morning sitting, I won't tell you where I was sitting, opened up the phone book, and I started calling stations, and I hit WEAM in Northern Virginia. And I happened to just luckily get somebody there. Must have been an engineer who ever answered the phone. I told him who I was, what I was trying to accomplish, and he said, come on over right now. It was a Saturday morning. And do you know, by Monday morning, we were on the air on WEAM. This was 2 days before the start of the season. So we had an away game at St. Joe's. Of course, we didn't have any advertising at that time. So we did the broadcast. It was a 3 o'clock game. I told him, I'll take the air 2:45. Unfortunately, it was a women's game before. Women's game went into overtime. I was on the air solo from 2:45 to 4 o'clock before the game started. So I had a broadcast solo from 2:45 to 6 o'clock without a commercial. Try that sometime. So as the story goes, though, throughout the years, we were able to continue to get radio stations, get advertising. As you well know, Georgetown's program continued to grow. NCAAs, in fact, I could attest to this. Of the 38 years doing Georgetown basketball, 37 times we've been to the NCAA or NIT. 37, 38. And if it wasn't for the 1 year declining by Coach Esherick, it would have been 38 of 38. No school in basketball in modern times can attest to that. So it's been a great ride for Georgetown basketball. And for me, an opportunity to broadcast some of the greatest games ever played in college. As you well know, the Jordan-Ewing matchup in 1982 for the national championship was historic. The closing of Manley Fieldhouse, the game that Georgetown unfortunately lost to Villanova. But they were some of the greatest games, the sweater game, which I had an opportunity to do on Channel 5 TV. And believe you me, when I walked into that arena at Madison Square Garden and you saw people on horseback, I said to myself, what an event when you have people. The marquee event and the sweater game was a game that lives in infamy in not only Georgetown, St. John, but Big East. And again, to Frank Rienzo, Joe Lang, and Brian McGuire, who I first started with, they all know the history that I'm speaking of, because it was pretty much touch and go for the first several years. And then, of course, when Mr. Ewing came along, and the rest was history. Then I got a phone call right before it was announced that Ewing signed. They had heard Patrick was signed. They called me and they said, we'd like you to sponsor, to be us to carry Georgetown basketball. That was DC 101. I said, hang up the phone, call Frank Rienzo immediately. Do not pass go, do not do anything else. Call Frank. And he did, and of course, as you know, the rest is history. We were with basically Capital Broadcast from 1981 until Clear Channel took it over in 1999. And that was the first year they started giving me engineers. Up until that time, I had done play-by-play pretty much, and engineered pretty much on my own, outside of Pat Malley, who's with us tonight, my longtime engineer of 19 years, who did the home games and a few away games. And I want to especially thank my son, Evan. Evan's done my stat for about the last 12 years. And this guy is amazing. He can not only do the stats, but then do the re-records, so we play highlights. And I don't think anybody in the country can do it simultaneously and be accurate. And he actually beats the stats by milliseconds as well. So, Evan, I want to thank you and congratulate you for the great job you've done. You know, I'll tell you another person that I really have to say tremendous thanks to is my wife, Lynn. When people call up during the course of the basketball season, they say, can you and Rich go somewhere? She said, no, it's basketball season. He's in the zone. Don't bother him from November to April. Don't bother him. Don't do anything. She takes my sports magazines and wants to throw them out, please, Lynn, don't touch this stuff. I need it. You never know when you're going to need it. In fact, Gary's sitting in the front table. In 1981, when they signed Ewing before the 81-82 season, I asked Gary, I said, what do you think when they signed Ewing and they signed Anthony Jones and Billy Martin? He said, go home, tell your wife, take the next 4 marches, X amount, because you'll be going to the NCAAs. Remember that, Gary? I asked him, and he was right on. So, you know, again, it's been a tremendous ride. I've enjoyed the 38 years. You know, as I look back on it the other day, I was saying to myself, as I look through the media guides, all the venues that I've had an opportunity to be at, from Puerto Rico to Alaska, umpteen years in Hawaii, it's just been tremendous. The people you meet, and that's allowed me the opportunity to meet the people here that represented the various individuals. And in fact, Johnny Holiday, whenever I shut our games off, 980, Johnny's on there. And you tell me how many cities could have 2 Hall of Famers for the same station in the same night? I don't think any. So it's a real credit to you, Johnny, and a great job you do at the University of Maryland. And again, congratulations on your honor as well. And James Brown. I mean, James, I grew up, the first time I came to D.C., I remember you when you played in the Knights of Columbus for DeMatha. That was 1969. So it goes back how far, of course, Bob with the Bullets, and I can go on and on and on. But the Georgetown family has been the family for me, and it's been wonderful. And I'll just leave you with one final word. I could talk about all the games and all the times that I've done in other venues, but I'll just leave you with one final thing. People talk about Boyers win, and that's been kind of my trademark. And, you know, I picked that up years ago when Russ Hyde said the Giants win the pennant, the Giants win the pennant. You know, and you get all excited, you're so happy for the Boys. So Roy Hibbert came the other day, and I went over and said hello to him. And I was sitting next to this guy from Indiana who was a fan of Roy's, and he was trying to get to talk to Roy. And I said, Roy, I said, congratulations, doing a great job. Good luck in the playoffs. He turned to me and said, Boys win, Boys win, Boys win. And this guy looked at me and he said, is that all he says? I said, you know what? That's all he has to say. So people who Georgetown family understand it, they understand the passion, and hopefully this can continue on for the future. Thank you again for the induction to the Washington Sports Hall of Fame. It was a pleasure.